Two little girls vanished without a trace while vacationing on a cruise ship. For 10 months, their mother searched endlessly until a suitcase washed up on a remote beach, and what was inside left even the police speechless. This is the story of a mother's worst nightmare, and the truth she never expected to find. Two little girls vanished without a trace while vacationing on a cruise ship. For 10 months, their mother searched endlessly until a suitcase washed up on a remote beach, and what was inside left even the police speechless. This is the story of a mother's worst nightmare, and the truth she never expected to find. Rachel Marin hadn't slept properly since the day her daughters disappeared. Her Charlottesville home felt like a tomb full of silent, stale coffee and unanswered prayers. Flyers with Millie and Rayleigh's smiling faces cluttered the coffee table. The corners curled, the colors faded, but Rachel couldn't throw them away. Every flyer was a promise that she wouldn't stop searching. Not now, not ever, not. She remembered that moment on the ship all too well. It was supposed to be a reward, a family trip she'd worked overtime for, a gift to her daughters after a year full of sacrifice. But on the 4th day of the cruise, everything changed. She had stepped out of the ship's restaurant for just 5 minutes to take a phone call. When she returned, her daughters were gone. The staff said the girls had wandered out, perhaps toward the pool deck. But the CCTV footage was grainy, the crowds were thick, and the cameras lost sight of them shortly after they were seen watching a magician by the main pool. An immediate ship-wide search was launched. All cabins checked, every deck combed. The captain contacted the Coast Guard. FBI agents boarded at the next port. Interviews were conducted, backgrounds checked, but no leads, no witnesses, no ransom notes. Just 2 8-year-old girls vanished as if into thin air. The cruise ended, but Rachel's nightmare didn't. She stayed behind, refusing to return to Virginia empty-handed. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. Rachel combed through CCTV footage frame by frame. She paid private investigators. She followed up on every tip, even when she knew they would lead nowhere. 10 months later, a phone call shattered the stillness. It was Detective Mace Alvarez, her main point of contact from the FBI. "I need you to come with me to North Carolina," he said. "A suitcase washed up near Ocracoke Island. It contains remains, possibly your daughters, and some personal items we need you to identify." Rachel felt her knees buckle. An hour later, she was on a plane. The suitcase was found by a local fisherman half buried in the sand near a cluster of driftwood. It had been sealed tight, but time and salt had worn it down. The ocean had delivered it back like a cruel message in a bottle. Inside the forensic lab, Rachel faced what every parent fears. The suitcase was unzipped under sterile lights. Inside, wrapped in soggy clothes and children's items, were human remains. No blood, no blunt force trauma. Just a child-sized body curled up and partially skeletonized. But what broke Rachel's heart wasn't the bones. It was the faded red Minnie Mouse t-shirt. It was the swim goggles with the tiny M still visible on the side Millie's goggles. She didn't need DNA to confirm it. That was her daughter. She clutched the edge of the table, her knuckles white. Then the examiner revealed something else. A silver Zippo lighter tucked between the layers of fabric. Its initials were clearly engraved K.E. Rachel stared. "That doesn't belong to my daughters. They were only 8. Detective Alvarez took note. "Then it might belong to whoever did this." The next day, Rachel insisted on visiting the beach where the suitcase was found. The tide had long washed away most traces, but the depression in the sand remained a hollow where her child had been left to drift for months. And that's when fate intervened. A man staying at a nearby cabin left behind a lighter on his porch table. Same make, same sticker. Rachel returned it to him with polite curiosity, asking casually where he bought it. "Carnes's Corner News," he said, "in Greenville." That name rang a bell. Moments later, a staff member approached the man with something else he'd forgotten. A suitcase. Same color, same size, same brand as the one that held Millie's remains. Rachel's heart nearly stopped. She questioned the man gently. He said he bought it from the same place, the news kiosk in Greenville. The owner, an older man named Douglas Carnes, had given him a deal. Rachel took the suitcase, thanked the man, and called Alvarez immediately. It was the break they had needed. Detective Alvarez quickly obtained records. The business was indeed owned by Douglas Carnes. He ran several locations and had a home address nearby. Surveillance background checks and a quiet drive-by followed. But then something unexpected happened. At the ferry terminal preparing to return to the mainland, Rachel spotted a car. Same partial license plate, same sticker. Inside, she was sure she saw her other daughter, Rayleigh. Alvarez wanted to be cautious. Rachel couldn't wait. She confronted the ferry staff. A secondary search was ordered. The car was pulled aside. Suddenly, the suspects inside tried to flee. A man in his 50s and a woman in her 30s dragging a young girl behind them. Police converged from all directions. The man was tackled, the woman surrounded. The girl broke free and locked eyes with Rachel. "Mom!" Rachel ran. She collapsed into her daughter's arms, weeping, unable to believe she was real alive after all this time. The suspects were identified Douglas Carnes and his wife, Kathy Evans. In their car, more suitcases, zip ties, sedatives, and disturbing materials that made seasoned officers turn pale. The girl, Rayleigh, was taken to the hospital, malnourished, injured, afraid of flash photography. She had been abused and hidden for months. Through interviews and confessions, the truth emerged. Carnes had stalked Rachel and her daughters before the cruise. He posed as a ship crew member, disabled cameras, performed a magic trick to gain the girls' trust. He took them. When his original accomplice backed out, he made a decision. He killed Millie, quietly, suffocated her, packed her in a suitcase, threw her overboard. Rayleigh he kept alive. For 10 months she was hidden, drugged, and moved from place to place, used for horrifying purposes. But she survived, and she came home. Carnes was arrested. Evans confessed. And a raid on one of their properties freed more children, others who hadn't been so lucky to escape. Rayleigh was safe, but forever changed. Her twin sister was gone. Her mother was broken, but whole. Together they started again. It would take time, therapy, tears. But in a world where 2 little girls vanished without a trace, justice finally had a face. And the ocean, which once carried a secret, had also delivered the truth. The funeral for Millie was small, private, and drenched in silence. A little white casket. A sea of sunflowers, her favorite. Rayleigh stood beside her mother, clutching Rachel's hand, too young to understand all the words spoken, but old enough to feel the weight in the air. Rachel spoke softly. Millie loved magic shows. She believed the world was full of good surprises. I want to believe that again, too. For her. Months passed. Rayleigh started therapy. She barely spoke at first. She flinched at camera flashes and cried during thunderstorms. But slowly, day by day, she laughed again, drew pictures, ate full meals. Rachel kept a photo of both girls by her bed. One smiling, frozen in time. The other alive, healing. They moved out of their old house. Started fresh. Close to the ocean, strangely. Rachel said she wanted to live near the place that returned her daughter, as if it owed her something, as if it had finally paid its debt. Douglas Carnes and Kathy Evans were tried in federal court. Evans took a plea deal and will spend decades in prison. Carnes, unrepentant to the end, was sentenced to life without parole, plus 200 years for additional trafficking charges. Rayleigh gave a short statement through her attorney. "I miss my sister. I want other kids to be safe. I want the bad people to go away forever." She was 10 by then. Still a child, but no longer a victim. A survivor, and Rachel, she became an advocate. Quietly at first supporting other families, speaking to law enforcement groups, funding organizations that help rescue trafficked children. She still has nightmares, still sees 2 beds when she tucks Rayleigh in at night. But she also sees light again, the kind her daughters used to bring into every room. And on quiet mornings when the wind is soft and the sea is calm, she walks the shoreline where Millie was found. Sometimes alone, sometimes with Rayleigh, always with memories. Because no matter what the tide brings in, love doesn't vanish. If this story touched your heart, please don't let it end here. Like this video to honor the children whose stories still haven't been told. Comment below with your thoughts, prayers, or messages for families still searching. Subscribe to Tim Stories for more real-life stories that matter. And if you believe in justice, healing, and the power of never giving up, share this video with someone who needs to see that hope is real.